Good morning, ladies. Thank you all for sharing part of your Sunday with us today. We are so pleased that you were able to come, and we're going to get started very shortly because we only have an hour, and this is such a huge topic for everyone. So today's topic is, what's stress got to do with it? There's a lot of stress in the world right now, and so we hope that we can give some answers, and you have a lot of questions to get your answers to those questions. So what is stress? It's your body's way of reacting to a challenge. Stress can be good, and it can be bad. Stress refers to the things in life that makes us tense or uptight. This year we have had a lot to deal with, from natural disasters, wildfires, mass shootings, and government policy changes. The world can sometimes be a very scary place. Add on to that, being a young lady, your age group, according to Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, things that you guys stress about include school pressure and career decisions, after school or summer jobs, dating and friendships, pressure to wear certain types of clothing, jewelry, or hairstyles, pressure to experiment with drugs and alcohol, pressure to be a particular size or body shape. With girls, the focus is often on their weight, dealing with the physical and cognitive changes of puberty, family and peer conflicts, being bullied or exposed to violence, crammed schedules, juggling school, sports, after-school activities, social life, and family obligations, as if that's not enough to stress about. Today's panel of experts will be discussing stress and the impact on teen health and safety. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Wanda Mott. She is going to moderate this session for us. She's been so gracious to do it these last 3 years, and we are so blessed to have her as a member of the Women's Fund. Dr. Mott is an OB-GYN surgeon with the Women's Specialist of Houston, part of Texas Children's Gynecology and Obstetrics Department. She has an advanced certification and experience in procedures such as colposcopy, gynecology, laser surgery, endometrial ablation, advanced endoscopy utilizing laparoscopy and hysteroscopy for minimally invasive surgery. Moreover, Dr. Mott was the 5th gynecologist to be certified in MR-guided focused ultrasound. Dr. Mott is a Phi Beta Kappa member and a magna cum laude graduate of Smith College. She received her medical degree and residency training at Baylor College of Medicine. Dr. Mott has been practicing medicine for so long, she's now delivering the babies of babies she helped deliver 20 years ago. Those connections and relationships are one of the reasons she enjoys her job so much, but her commitment to the community is just as strong. Through her mentorship and sponsorship of girls' groups and schools, she is making as much of an impact away from the hospital as she is in it. Most recently, Dr. Mott established the Passport to STM Mutilating Healthy Lifestyle and the Sassy Ladies in partnership with the Missouri City chapter of Links Incorporated. She is a proud Houstonian and a product of Houston schools. Please welcome Dr. Wanda Mott.
I'm sorry. Well, good morning. Welcome. All right, we are so glad to have you guys, and I'm so glad to be back here for the 3rd time. I think the Women's Fund does a fantastic job in giving us opportunities to actually talk about some of the things that are bothering us or difficulties that we're having in school. And that's what this is about. Now, we have a panel of ladies here that are absolutely brilliant, okay? And if you open your program, you can see why. There are many, many accolades that they have had and certainly have earned, and each one of them in their own right is really respected in their communities. Now, I'm going to go over a few of those things, but just let's say that it's safe to say that they are really, really smart, okay? And the reason that they're here is because they're very interested in you. In how you are dealing with some of the things that we as adults and you as teens and preteens have to deal with in our communities. So this is a safe place for us to talk, and that's what this is about. And I really want to congratulate you, each one of you, for being here. So let's start with, to my left, is Dr. Michelle A. Patriquin. Dr. Patriquin is Menninger Clinic's Director of Clinical Outcomes. She is an assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine. She is a licensed psychologist and specializes in assessing and treating childhood psychiatric diseases. Certainly that can include autism and spectrums of that disorder. It can include anxiety, depression, and ADHD, as well as childhood trauma. She has also conducted more than 50 national and international presentations on her research. So she is steadily gathering information in Baylor and at Menninger about childhood trauma, about illnesses that are psychiatric, and how she can make improvements. So she's a great person to be on our panel and for you to actually tap into her information. She has done a postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Houston and the Menninger Clinic, and is presently on the Baylor, is the director of Menninger through Baylor. Dr. Patriquin, can we give her a round of applause? Next to her is Liz Seitz. Welcome, Liz. She is a psychotherapist, and she has been a psychotherapist since 1987. She received her master's in clinical social work and has designated as an advanced clinical practitioner. She is also licensed in marriage and family therapy. She has been in private practice since 1992. She is involved in helping to resolve issues in childhood trauma, in marital and family relationship issues, in infidelity, in divorce, in remarriage, and other life transitions. She has conducted numerous marriage and parenting workshops. Liz's views of her psychotherapeutic work are as that they are sacred works and a vocation that she feels she is truly blessed to be a part of and to serve others on their journey toward total health and healing. Liz, welcome to our panel. Ms. Diane Vines is a child and trauma fellow and a staff therapist in the Therapy and Psychological Services Department at Children's Assessment Center in Houston, Texas. She received her master's degree in marriage and family therapy at the University of Houston, Clear Lake, in 1999. She has worked and trained in the area of child sexual abuse and incest since 1998. Her works in the Children's Assessment Center include providing clinical supervision and providing individual, family, and group therapy to children who have been sexually abused and their non-offending family members. Ms. Vines has served on Houston's Association for Marriage and Family Therapy Board, and the Kids and Youth Protecting Other Kids Board. Welcome, Diane Vines. And our last panelist, but not least, is Dr. Freeney LaCour Chestnut. Dr. Chestnut is joining us for a second time on this panel, and we thank you for that, Freeney. Dr. Chestnut is assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine and is a physician who is dual boarded and certified in both internal medicine and pediatrics. She has, after the loss of her father at an early age due to lymphoma, Freeney decided she wanted to be involved in medicine as her career. She graduated summa cum laude from Florida A&M University and did her postgraduate training at Baylor College of Medicine in internal medicine and pediatrics. She is now an assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine and the director of the Baylor Med-Peds Residence Program. And certainly Freeney is involved in a tremendous amount of community work as well. She is especially interested in preventative medicine, in quality improvement, and in safety, parental safety and child safety. Outside her career, she enjoys spending time and exploring and traveling with her husband and her 2 children. Welcome back, Dr. LaCour Chestnut. So ladies, let's begin. We talked about what is stress. And what we want to do is to actually discuss stress. And I'm going to give them just a few minutes to certainly talk about some of the things that they're involved in their communities and help us to deal with the stresses we have been dealing with. Certainly, many of us have dealt with Harvey, and some people have been displaced because of Harvey. So we want to talk about how that trauma of just being displaced in home, being displaced at school, and certainly being in a different school atmosphere, how those types of traumas affect us, what is normal for that, okay? How should we be expecting to feel? What should we be expecting to see our friends feel in those atmospheres? And what about worry concerning our parents? How are parents dealing with rebuilding homes, rebuilding lives, grandparents that are displaced? Can we just begin by talking about something that is very close to all of us and how we are dealing with Harvey? Any of you can begin. We should have mics on that, but I can pass mine on. You can begin. Any can begin.
So I guess to get us started, you know, we all live in Houston. And because of that, no matter if, you know, you didn't have anything happen to you in Harvey, so maybe your house was fine, your friends and your neighbors' houses were fine, we still, or, you know, maybe you did have to move or you did have to go to a new school. So we all were affected, including myself, by Hurricane Harvey in some way. It was really, you know, really stressful, I think, for all of us. We all had a feeling, I think probably, did anyone feel uncertain about what was going to happen those days? Yeah. So there was a lot of like, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? Is the water going to keep rising? Is it going to go down? I know that was a big question for me. Is it going to keep going towards our house? And that uncertainty causes us a lot of stress. And now that uncertainty can be, if you're in a new school, can I make new friends? Am I going to fit in this new school? How do I figure out my classes? Is anyone feeling like that right now? Yeah. There's a lot of uncertainty and not knowing what to expect, and that can be really, really stressful.
Okay, I know Dr. Mott, I believe it was Dr. Mott, somebody mentioned that not all stress is bad. And it's not. Anything that's new is stressful. So I know for me with Harvey, it was stressful, and I had seen rain before, but not like this, not like this. It never floods in my neighborhood, and it was creeping up the driveway and creeping up the lawn, and I was scared. I was really scared. So it finally stopped raining so hard, and the water went down. And so my house was fine, but I had neighbors whose house was not. I know for me, ever since Harvey, I've been struggling to keep things together, to remember things. I forgot to write down exactly when I was supposed to be here today, so I got here really early to make sure I covered it. And what I wound up doing is helping. I helped. So there was a shelter that was set up at a high school around the corner, and I helped. And I struggled with, should I go back to work, because I do some work from home, and I knew I should do that, but then I knew I wouldn't be able to concentrate if I didn't help. So I helped at the shelter. I helped some neighbors that I've never even met clean out their house. And then I helped at, where did I go? NRG. I helped down there. So we did a lot of helping, and that helped me feel a little better. And the reason why it was helpful is because human beings, and everybody in this room is a human being, are social. And when something happens to one of us, it pretty much happens to all of us. So sometimes do you think, well, it's my life, and I'm going to do what I want, don't worry about it, it's all me? Do you ever feel like that? if you have one other person in your life who loves you and cares about you, then that's not even true. It's about you and them. So what you do really does matter to other people. If you matter to someone, what you do matters to someone. So, and what happens to you matters to them. So while my house was fine and my cars were fine and most of my friends were fine, I'm still not as fine as I'd like to be because I know people who weren't fine. And that's because it affected them, and we're all just very social like that. So if you're feeling a little like I should be okay, but I'm not, it's okay. That's okay. Because if it happened to people you know, or you see it on TV, or it could have happened to you, and you're worried about it, if you're worried about the rain today, probably a lot of people are. Is it going to flood? Should we be here? Should we go home now? That's normal. It's normal after a tragedy like that.
And one of the other thing I think that's important to recognize is that as kids, you know, often when something is happening in the whole family, it's hard to watch your parents under stress because you have your own stress, and then you look at your parents as expecting them sort of to have it all together and have your back and have things under control. And when something like this happens, they aren't in full control, and they're also experiencing a lot of stress, and that can really double your stress, because now you have the original stress, and then you also have the stress of wondering if mom and dad are going to be okay and if they're going to be able to keep things together for me. So that's very, very normal. And one thing I'd like to say, certainly as a parent, I have 2 kids myself. They're in their 20s now, but they were your age once. And I know that it's as a parent, it's very hard because obviously we don't have all the answers. We don't have full control as much as we'd like to. We do have our own stresses. And it is okay to acknowledge that you are human, that you're doing the best that you can. Certainly you don't want to fall apart in front of your kids. But it's okay to show emotion. It's important for healthy modeling to show them that you can experience stress and also have some healthy coping strategies to deal with it, because you're modeling for them what we do when we're under stress. But you don't have to have all the answers, and you can just reassure them that they're going to be okay, that you're all going to be okay. And for kids to know that even if you are seeing your parents under stress, it's not your job to take care of them. It's still their job to take care of you, and that you are going to be okay. And certainly you can share with them how scary it is for you to not only feel what you're feeling, but also to witness their stress. So really communicating openly as a family is really, really important.
Fantastic, fantastic. Why don't we go to talking about, certainly we're dealing with Harvey, but we still have all of the problems associated, all the things that we do, that they do as teenagers in juggling their sports, their class, their friends, their phone, and all of the other things on a regular basis. So how do you keep from being stressed, okay, in trying to do all of those things? Dr. LaCour? How would you encourage them? What would you tell them to do?
Well, I think it's very important when you're dealing with so many different stressors. We all have them as adults, as women, as mothers, as sisters, friends, as a child, as a parent. You'll have many stressors and many things that require your attention during your lifetime. So it's very important as a child to learn how to manage the things that are important and the things that are not important, the things that you can change and the things that you can't change, and to determine what falls into those boxes. And sometimes school is, most of the time, going to be in that very important box, should be in that very important box. And also, friends and family should be in that very important box. But there are some times when maybe friends have to be in the not so important box so that you can focus on school or other family obligations. So as a parent, we want to model and show our children that everything doesn't require your attention all the time. So that might mean turning your phone off and actually enjoying the moment so that it doesn't make you so stressful that somebody else is doing this over here, or one of my friends is talking about this on the internet, or on, I know you guys probably don't use Facebook anymore, that's for the old people like me. But somebody else is doing this on Instagram and they posted this really cool picture, or Snapchat, or whatever else. But you have your own environment that you're in at the moment that you could really focus on and enjoy, rather than causing yourself that extra stress of seeing what other people are doing. I found that there's lots of young girls, not even young girls, grown women, just in our very social society today, who get really stressed about what's happening in other people's lives on social media and how their own life compares to that. The majority of us only put our really high positive things on social media, and we don't display some of the negative things that go on in our lives. So we tend to think that everybody else's life is just fabulous and fantastic, and they never have any problems, and they never have to endure stress or anything else. Well, we know that's not true, because we all have those negative things and those stressors that we don't want everybody else to see on social media. So taking some time out is what I recommend for families, for young girls especially, to put social media in its own box, limit it to a certain time of day, to a certain number of minutes or hours, and then move on. Be involved in what you're involved in. So we're here today. They have a wonderful little selfie booth over there. And I think it's great. Take some pictures with your friends, but then put the phone down and enjoy what's here and what's going on today. So enjoy the speakers that you'll have outside, getting to go to the different shopping booths and all of that wonderful information. But if you're constantly distracted, then you don't really get to enjoy that fully. And for most people, that causes additional stress rather than helping to relieve it.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment?
Also remember too, different things that we do and different stressors cause us different amounts of stress. So you can think of stress as a thermometer. So it's not an all or nothing thing, I'm stressed or I'm not. It's, okay, this, you know, for example, maybe a picture pops up on social media that makes me feel bad. That causes me stress. We think of a thermometer from 0 to 10. That causes me personally stress, maybe at a 4 or a 5. But somebody else could be a 10, right? So we all experience stress in different ways and different amounts of it. So something can cause us to be a 10 one day, but then another day we can kind of deal with that stress a little bit better. Maybe we slept really well. And so when we have to deal with that stress, we're kind of at a 1 or a 2. So think of stress as a thermometer. And one way you can kind of reduce your stress is try to catch yourself when that stress thermometer maybe is at a 1 or a 2 and not all the way up at the 10. And starting to think about what causes me a 10 versus what causes me a 0. And how do I kind of catch myself before I reach a 10?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, while we're talking about social media, one of the things, and certainly you guys are in social media on Snapchat, Instagram, Messenger, all the time. So can we talk a little bit about bullying on those avenues and being exposed to violence? That creates a tremendous amount of stress for adults as well as teens. Can we address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's so important, Frenae mentioned, which I think was so true for adults as well as kids, that, you know, people do only show their best selves, and there is that sense of missing out and feeling like, your life just doesn't compare to someone else's, and it is so important to put things in perspective. So I am going to respond to what you said about the bullying, but I think that's a really, really important point to remember for kids to keep things in perspective, that this is only a glimpse of this person's life. They have plenty of other experiences that they're not showing me. They are human too. There is no doubt that they have definitely feelings of low self-esteem and sadness and anxiety, just as I might, so at different periods of time in their life. So that's really, really important. And unfortunately, a lot of girls particularly feel that social media is kind of a safe way to bully through words. Girls tend to do that much more through words than actions, which is of course more something that boys would do, physically maybe bully. But girls can do it through words and through pictures and showing that they've been all at this party that you weren't included in, and really make someone feel so inadequate and alone and unwanted. And it's so destructive, and it's really, really important, one, to realize that when people do this, they are typically not in a great place in their own lives. That those who bully are either being bullied at home or somewhere else, and they're reenacting what they've experienced, or they're just not in a happy place in their life. They may be very depressed, they may be very sad, they may be very lonely themselves, and their only way of feeling better is to make someone else feel inadequate and less than. So it is important, one, to consider the source, you know, and realize that this person who is doing this to me is not better than me, and it doesn't really have power over me unless I allow her to. And really that maybe she's going through a bad point in her life, if it's a girl, or his life if it's a guy. But certainly if bullying gets to a point where it really, really is starting to impact the way you feel about yourself, and certainly if it becomes, if it's something physical, and then it's very, very important to talk to someone that you trust, either a parent or a teacher or a counselor at your school. Really, really important to reach out for support, because there are plenty of safe people that you can talk to who would want to help you and advise you in that situation.
I'm curious from you guys, who can you talk to specifically at school? Because I think most of the people who would be bullying you are people at school. So if that happens, who can you talk to at school to help you? The counselor? A trusted adult? Okay. A teacher?
Assistant principal.
Okay. There's one more.
The principal.
A principal. If either you have, or if any of your friends have, talked to a principal or a teacher or a counselor about being bullied, I'm wondering if it was helpful. Were they able to help? Yes? You know, yes, go ahead. Was it helpful?
I said yes.
It was? Good. They must be telling you something magical. I know when my daughter was younger, she's 25 now, but when she was younger, she would ask me about some things, and so I would help her understand where the bully was coming from, why they were behaving the way they were behaving, so that then she could figure out what to do about what they were doing. When I would tell her, well, you should try saying this or that, you know what she would tell me? Mom, kids don't talk like that. That's not what a kid would say. So, well, you put it in your own words then. But I've also worked with groups of kids where there's bullying going on, and they want to talk to an adult, and the adults basically tell them to stop tattling. that's not good. Really, in order to control bullying the best, the most effective way is if the people at the top don't allow it to happen, and they take it seriously when it does. If you don't have that kind of support in your school or in your environment, the next best thing is to be able to talk to the people who are important to you. So that would be your parents, your grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, and also your friends. If you support each other, if enough of you support each other, the bully won't have so much power. So, if a lot of times kids struggle with the bully because the bully picks on one kid and everybody else goes, oh, I don't want to be that kid, so they don't say anything, and they sit back. But if enough of you step forward to protect the kid that's getting bullied, that takes some of the power away from the bully. And there is power in numbers. So with a large enough group, you can overcome bullies.
One important thing, I think what you're saying, Ms. Diane, is when you say there's power in numbers, that's also an example of sisterhood. So one thing I think that's very important, and I think it's fantastic that you guys have wonderful teachers and principals, counselors who are helpful to you, but on social media, in schools, in your neighborhood, in all of those areas, we should strive to be great friends to other girls so that we have somewhat of a sisterhood. You can't pick on, this person, that person, or whomever else is in your class about their clothing or their hairstyle if that's your friend, if that's your sister. So definitely forming a bond, not in a mean-spirited way, which is a lot of ways that people portray young girls, but sisterhood means supporting one another, having their back, encouraging them when they feel sad or down or when they have a problem, helping them to find that trusted adult if they don't have one when something is going wrong. So definitely start to form those networks with other girls and be the person that Miss Diane is talking about who can help someone else if you feel like they're being wronged. That doesn't mean that you have to engage in anything physical, that you have to argue with someone else, but just say, that's not right. Help them remove themselves from that situation, talk and help them speak to a trusted adult about what's going on. I think the counselors in the schools have a very important role in helping students, especially girls, learn how to deal with conflict and deal with disagreements. Sometimes as adults, as maybe the mother or the parent, we don't allow our children to learn how to deal with those conflicts. So what does it mean if somebody says a negative comment to you, and how can you stand up for yourself? How can you still believe that even though somebody said that your shoes were old or weren't in style or whatever else, how can you still feel good about yourself? How can you have those conversations? So hopefully we are role modeling as mothers, as teachers, as women, how to be a good sister so that our daughters also know how to engage in those relationships in a positive way. Hopefully that will also combat some of the bullying that happens on social media and in our schools.
Thank you.
I saw a hand for a question.
Yeah, we had a question.
Yes, it was a couple of things. It was just going off of what you were saying, well, all of y'all were saying, but it doesn't help when, say if someone is being bullied and I'm your friend, me laughing at it, that doesn't help the situation. And then also, if you can't talk to anybody, like if I'm someone's friend and I know that someone is being bullied, and let's say like I don't have the guts to speak up about it or anything like that, then I can tell my parent and my parent can talk if that person is too scared. That's just another option.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback on what you just said because I know you guys are still little girls and big girls, but I'm going to tell you, when you get to be as big as this girl, it still happens. It never stops. But I can tell you personally what I have done. I'll be with a group of women and they start gossiping about one and it's a friend of mine, and I'll just say, that's funny. I don't have that problem with them. It stops the whole thing. I don't even have to tell them it's wrong. They just stop doing it in front of me. But I feel good because I just got my friends back. I know they would do it for me, and I don't feel good if I don't do it for them. So then I don't get picked on. I just don't get included in any more gossip. But they also don't feel good continuing. And that's the most important thing. Don't trash my friends.
Exactly. I think that's a good point. Certainly as women, and you guys as girls, we have a tendency to want good friends. We enjoy being with other girls and other women. But one of the things that we have to learn that keeps us from being excessively stressed is that we pick people that really add to our situation rather than subtract from it. People that we don't have to be just like. We don't have to have the same hairstyle. We don't have to wear the same clothes. We don't really have to be in the same area, but we enjoy each other's company. Sometimes when you're always trying to be like somebody else, that creates a lot more stress for you. So one of the things, certainly we want to have great friends, but we want to have friends that are additive, that help us to go where we're going and to develop into who we truly want to be. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up, Liz, you had a comment?
I was just going to say, I think that's a great point, is to just pay attention to how you feel when you're in the presence of your friends. Yes. You know, does this person bring out my best self? Yes. Do I like who I am when I'm with her? Yes. And if the answer is no, then you really it's time to get a new friend. That's right. That really you are in a position of power in choosing your friends. And you need to surround yourself with people who celebrate who you are and bring out the best in you, and not leave you feeling diminished or less than or insecure in some way, and where you start doubting yourself and feeling bad about who you are. That's not the definition of friendship. So then it really is important to pay attention to, how do I feel? And if I'm not feeling good in the presence of this person, if I get the sense, even if they don't do it in a very direct way, sometimes, you know, I'm sure we've all been there where someone can say something and it just doesn't sit well with you. You know, it just feels like an insult. Well, it probably is. Trust your gut and honor what you're feeling, and know that there are plenty of other girls out there who would celebrate who you are and whose company you could enjoy. And it's really, really important to choose your friends well and wisely.
Thank you. I want to ask us to discuss one other thing. Certainly as being teenage girls, it is how we look is extremely important. As women, we know that, okay? We spend a lot of time getting exactly how we want to be, okay? And this started a long time ago. So I want us to discuss how they can decrease their stress in trying to be and being comfortable in their own skin and who they actually are. Development is a slow process, ladies. Breasts come at a certain time, depending on where it is in your family history. You don't make it happen, okay? Height comes, body shape comes, everything is different for everybody. But we're all blessed to be who we are. And certainly, it's very important for us to be comfortable in that skin. Certainly, it can cause us a lot of stress to try to be like someone else or be what we see on television. Can we talk about that and how we can navigate that?
Well, one thing I want to say about that is, for years ago, I used to work at a psych hospital, but I'm on the adolescent unit. So I worked with a lot of teenagers. And I saw a lot of these issues firsthand, of course. And then being a mom of teens, I saw that again. But what's interesting, and Dr. Mata is alluding to this, that grown women are still confronted with a lot of these same issues that they experienced when they were younger and that they see in their own daughters and that many of you are experiencing. So it is a never-ending kind of struggle to really find your voice, to feel good in your own skin, to feel comfortable with who you are, and to stop comparing yourself to everyone else, because nobody can do you better than you. And it's really, really important to also put things in perspective, that perfection doesn't exist, number one. Two, it'd be pretty boring. We all have things that are interesting and different about us. We all have strengths, and we all have aspects of ourselves that we wish were different. And that's really true of everyone. And really, it's important to find aspects of yourself that you can feel good about and celebrate and focus on those. When you find yourself thinking about the things about yourself that you wish were different, really kind of try to stop yourself in that moment and say, what can I tell myself instead? What can I remind myself about that I really like about my body or about my personality or whatever it is? But if it's the physical self, which unfortunately a lot of young girls and women focus on, even finding things about your physical self that you appreciate, your beautiful eyes, your smooth and silky hair, your flawless skin, whatever it is, your shoulders. I mean, it can be the most, your toes. Some people have hideous toes. It really, really is important to find something that you celebrate and feel good about. And I will tell you, from working with lots and lots of men and women individually and couples, one of the things that men and young men and older men say that they find the most attractive in a young girl or woman, and that is confidence. It's not about perfection. It's not about having the perfect body or the perfect face. It's about the way they carry themselves and the way they feel in their own skin. And that's something that you can absolutely work on and cultivate and develop, just to have some sense of confidence and a strong sense of self.
Oh boy, I want to piggyback on that. Have you guys noticed that you can walk into a room and sit next to someone and not ask them anything, but they make you feel uncomfortable? Have you noticed that? Okay. People communicate on multiple levels, a lot of which is not with words. It's with feelings. So you may be uncomfortable next to someone, but that someone is probably grouchy, they're probably sad, they're probably frustrated, they've probably gone way above the stress level they're able to tolerate, and you're feeling that. On the other hand, if you use the relationships, the important relationships in your life to feel better, and you feel good, people will sit next to you and they will want to talk to you and they will want to be closer to you. They'll want to get to know you better. Because you've probably noticed that too. When you sit next to somebody, you can walk in a room and see a bunch of people that you know or don't know that well, and you'll want to sit next to the person that looks like the friendliest and the warmest and the most comfortable and the most confident. People are drawn to confidence. Now, what's underlying all of this is brains are wired for connection. We are wired to be in relationship with other people. That's why we join clubs, that's why we join churches, that's why we want to have friends, that's why we're on social media. We need to be connected to each other. That's not a weakness, that's human, that's important. Probably the most stressful and threatening thing that can happen to a person is to be excluded from all of your relationships, to be completely alone. So that's why people will put up with and do all kinds of things to stay in a relationship, even a bad one. But that's not necessary. If you just cultivate a few good relationships, good relationships with family members, a few good friends. If you have more than a few, that's even better. But a few good friends, people you can count on, that make you feel good, that feed your soul, that make you laugh, where you can sit up and giggle all night until your stomach hurts. and your face hurts. Those are the people you want in your life. And when you're around those people and they fill you up and you leave your house, other people look at you and go, wow, I don't know what she's got, but I want some of that. I want to be like that. So it starts here. It starts with how, all of you feed each other, and then other people will want to be around you. So you won't be alone. Then you get to choose, I got to get rid of this one because they just want to suck the life out of me, and this one I'll keep. So you wanted to, okay.
One tip that I have for those who are maybe struggling with pressures from the outside about how you look and things that you might not like about your body or other aspects are positive self-talk, meaning, just as was suggested earlier, that when you start to think of, man, I really don't like how I look in this, or I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like this about myself, stop yourself there. Positive self-talk is very important to changing those negative thoughts into positive ones, meaning when I was much younger, I've always had a very curvy body, meaning larger hips and thighs, and not until I was a young adult did I really appreciate that this is how my body is formed, and there is a reason that God made me this way. My body is healthy, my body is strong, I can run, I can jump. So you start to think of all of the positive things that these hips and thighs can do for me, and I walk just fine in these heels that I have on. So start to turn some of those negative thoughts into positive ones. You don't like the way that your eyes look or how they're situated on your face. Well, your eyes allow you to see and learn and read. And somebody, there's many celebrities, models, other people who they think are that we think are gorgeous, who at some point they thought that they had something wrong with their face or their body, or they were too skinny, or I don't like this about myself. It's time out that we stop putting ourselves down and start reframing instead of giving all that negative, this is what I don't like, into positive. And you can start that today. Go in the mirror, whatever, if you're telling yourself something negative about yourself, look at that body part. I love my arms because they are strong. I can do push-ups. I can, pick up a book. I can do this. Tell yourself positive things instead of negative to start to turn some of that negative thinking around.
I'm just going to add one more thing. I'm sorry. Just on top of that, definitely focus on the fact that your body is healthy. That's the most important thing, because you know what? How it looks. Your body's going to change, and I'll tell you something else, the styles will too. So when I was a kid your age, I used to think, too curvy, bottoms too big. I could be, this big, but my behind would be ginormous. It didn't matter how skinny I was still going to have a big bottom. And my lips were too full, and my eyebrows were too bushy. Well, guess what? Then along came some celebrity with these big, thick caterpillar eyebrows, and I was like, oh, my eyebrows are in fashion. And then somebody came along and they wanted bigger lips, and I'm like, yes, my lips are in fashion. And then people are getting booty implants. It's like, yes, my body, I'm finally in fashion. I didn't have to change anything. Everybody else did it for me. So just wait. You think you're not in fashion now, honey? Don't worry, you will be.
Okay, ladies, we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions, okay?
Fantastic. Well, we just want to thank each one of our panelists for all of their expertise and certainly opening themselves up and being really open with you so that we can get information. That's what this is all about, for us to share and certainly have an opportunity to open up to some of the things that are actually bothering you. So let's take this last few minutes for questions, and you can ask our panelists anything.
I really don't have a question. I just have a statement. And that statement is, you cannot talk yourself into feeling better about yourself. Ask for professional help. As an African-American woman who's been overweight my entire life, I was taught I'm crazy if
Thank you for that comment. Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? Come on, guys. Here's one up front. Right here, dear.
When you're getting bullied, is it okay to deal with the situation yourself when you don't really need help? Like you already know, because you've been through those experiences before, and you know, like you gradually helped yourself to get better with dealing with those situations. So is it okay to deal with bullying yourself?
Absolutely. You go for it, girl. I think that's amazing. If you feel confident that you can handle this on your own and your experience is that you have handled it successfully before, absolutely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's only when you reach a point where you feel like you're in over your head, when you feel like, you know, I'm not able to do this on my own, that I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling bullied to a point where, you know, I'm really not able to be my true self. Or certainly, worst case scenario, my life is in danger in some way, or you know, something more serious, then obviously you do need to get support for that. But if you feel like you can handle the situation, absolutely, that's perfectly fine.
The one thing I would say is don't allow yourself to be drawn into that, okay? Don't participate in it. Learn to cut it, okay? And when you say deal with it yourself, okay, don't become a part of it, okay?
Is it okay to defend yourself if the bully gets physical?
If what?
If the bully gets physical.
If the bully gets physical, is it okay to defend yourself?
It's physical. Oh, that's a tough one, because I think, you know, we really want to discourage, obviously, being physical. You know, two wrongs don't make a right. And I think it's, you could get really, really hurt, obviously, or you could really hurt someone else. And that's not what anyone wants. So I think it's probably best not to get involved in a physical fight. If you were my daughter, I certainly wouldn't want that for you. I know you're not my daughter, but I still don't want that for you. So I think, I mean, if anyone else wants to speak to that, I don't think that's a great idea.
I think anytime you feel that you're in harm's way and there is going to be a physical attack on you, that is when you go get help. You don't want to engage in that type of, well, it's okay. Okay? Just for future reference, you know that it's better to get the help that you need from a trusted adult, someone at school or something like that, because you don't want to put yourself in that situation, okay?
Anybody else have a comment?
Yeah, I think I know what I think I know what you're talking about. Because I have worked with kids because that's why I asked y'all the question earlier, is there someone you can talk to? Because sometimes the school's response is stop tattling. And so there you are by yourself. So so when I was doing these groups with kids, I know what I'm supposed to say, and then there's what's real. But so the ideal situation is that when you start to suspect that there's something that's not right about this kid, that they're picking on you, that's when you go get the trust. You don't wait until it's really bad. Go early so that you don't have to. And so they don't get in a position where they're trying to beat you up after school or in the bathroom. I can imagine it would be very hard to stand there while somebody hits you. They don't usually do that. They try to provoke you to hit them first so then they can beat you up. So if you can avoid getting provoked, and that's why it's so important that you have friends who will say, hey, you know, leave her alone. And if there's a bunch of you, one or two bullies, and it can't really be very effective against 5 or 6 other girls. You know what I'm saying? So I know that doesn't feel like a good answer for you, because you're probably at a school where there's a whole lot of this going on and nobody seems to be handling it. So I would talk to your family members, see if you, and you know, it's hard if your mom goes up to the school, because then you're the kid that tattled. I know that. So friends, the counselor, maybe the counselor and the nurse can help, and talk to the other professionals, because really the climate at your school needs to be managed better. Does that make sense? Okay. And you know, if that's a situation that you're in or your friends are in or a cousin or something, I'm really sorry, because it shouldn't be that way. They should be taking care of that up at the top.
Is it okay to revenge bullies? Like
defend bullies?
Revenge.
Revenge? No.
Oh no, that just makes stuff worse. You know what? When you take revenge out on a bully, what you tell the bully is what they did is important and that they're powerful. And that's the last message they need to get. If you don't, the message they get is, I don't care. You don't mean anything. You're not important. That nobody wants to be unimportant. So there's actually an old saying that old people use, which is the best revenge is living well, not fighting back. The best revenge is living well.
So we have time for one more question. We have one over here.
Is it okay to agree with the bully or like make a joke out of it or change the subject, kind of?
To agree?
She's saying like if they say, well, you have glasses or whatever, and she'll make a joke of it.
So
yeah.
As a defense mechanism and sometimes to diffuse situations, you can use humor, definitely, and you can make it seem like that doesn't bother me, like this is all of a big joke. But I think at the core of you, you need to know that if something is bothering you, a comment that somebody made that you should talk to, say somebody did make a comment about your glasses and call you, the common thing is 4 eyes, right? So you make a joke out of it, well, 4 eyes is better than 2. But if you feel in your heart like, man, that doesn't make me feel good at all about having glasses, then you need to talk to someone, hopefully your parent or another trusted individual, to say, why do I feel this way? And then the other person who's making those comments, sometimes it's not a bullying situation. Somebody made a comment one time, maybe it was your good friend. And so hopefully that adult can talk to you and help you to have a discussion with that person to say, you know, that comment really hurt my feelings. Even though I played it off like it was a joke, that really hurt my feelings. And could you not, you know, say things like that to me in the future? So that relationship, if it was a good friend who made a comment like that, one comment, and it's not consistent over and over, that you learn how to have discussions with people when they hurt your feelings and not just always ignore it or play it off with humor.
Okay, so we're going to have to stop there because it's, okay, one comment, okay.
I was just going to say, that's actually called teasing the tease. So it's a really, really good way, or can be, because it removes the power from the bully. If sometimes bullies, they just want that power and to feel important. And so your example is so good, making a joke out of it. If it's not hurting you or hurting others, and you kind of just dismiss it, whatever, I don't care, roll your eyes, that's teasing the tease. And it just immediately shuts down the bully, takes away their power, they don't feel important, and hopefully it doesn't ever happen again.
Right, because they're looking for a reaction. If you don't give it to them, they have to stop.
Yeah. Please, let's thank our panelists. Thank you so much, Dr. Mott. With our appreciation, thank you. And ladies, please, each one of you, we want to thank you so much.
Can we give them a round of applause again?
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Please go out, enjoy your shopping. There's a photo booth. There's all other kinds of activities. So
you guys have funds to spend. Go and buy great things.